Hi, welcome to this Curricular Approach highlight. Today, I'm joined with folks from Concordia College. Jill and Ryan are from the Career Center, and they've got a great example of videos. And I've talked with so many of you about using videos. They can be short and concise. Students can watch them over and over. You can send them to parents and families. You can send them out now, and students can come back to them when it's super relevant. It's such a useful tool that can save us, I think, a lot of time, energy, and effort and be really something we can deploy again and again and again. And I have so many conversations about using video for training, for career centers, for orientation, for conduct, for so many different things. And I think people love this idea and they're just not sure what exactly would it look like. And these folks have figured out exactly what it could look like. And so I'm excited to share this with you. Jill, why don't you just introduce yourself a bit and tell us a little bit about what you were hoping to achieve and why you're doing this and the purpose?
Sure. I'm the director here at Concordia College in the Career Center. I've only been in the role for just shy of 2 years now, but been with the Career Center for about six. And we have used the curricular approach for some time now. I feel like we are, uh,
6 years.
yeah, it's been great. And we have learned so much about how to do curricular approach. And one of the things we did right off the bat is create facilitation guides for our one-on-one meetings. And so, at a certain point, I had a chat with Keith about, what we could do in addition. And you brought up videos as an option. So we took that on this past summer and we chose resume because at least 39% of our career coach appointments are about resume. A little bit of mix of cover letter in there, but it's the same. And for our career peers who are our student workers that work in our office, 84% of their appointments are about talking about resumes. So we thought we would focus on that topic for creating videos. And so, because so much of the time in those one-on-one appointments is just doing the basics, formatting, fonts, headings, things that are easy to put in a video and things that you have to get through before a student can get to the tailoring portion of a resume, which is where our staff, particularly our career coaches, are best suited to spend the bulk of their time. But they're spending the large majority of their time talking about just kind of those basic resume needs. So our goal was to get our students to tailoring much quicker by developing these short videos. We intended to develop them so that they are less than 2 minutes. We have a variety of topics that you can kind of pick and choose. So if study away is not a part of your resume, you don't need to watch that video, but you can watch some of the others that kind of meet your needs. We just rolled them out. We're starting to collect feedback on them now, as we all should when
Mhm.
you develop something to make sure that it's working. So we're in that stage right now, but we're really pleased and have already been getting really great response to it.
Yeah, awesome. And I think that that part you mentioned about we're using these videos so that in our appointments we can be more personalized. Such a great point because I think people say, "Oh, well, we want to be connected to students. We want to be meeting with them. We don't want to get rid of that." No, no, no. We're using these videos so that you're not wasting your time talking about fonts and headings and things that they could get before, so that the conversation is, "Tell me about this interesting course that you're applying for, or this internship, or how are you connecting the internship you had last summer and the study away experience you just had this spring? They seem really unrelated to me. How are they related to you?" So we're having those conversations rather than the conversations we have, and again, where we feel like we could hit play and just let it roll. Let me just share with folks a very brief, very quickly, what it is that we're talking about. All right, so you can just see here briefly, and we'll include in the links with folks. You can see that there's the resume basics, and then over here is a whole list of the series. You can see just the timestamps on these. They're sometimes 34 seconds, a minute and a half. They're very short, they're very concise, and you can see the topics here. As Jill mentioned, you can say, "Oh, I know nothing. I had never thought about fonts. Let me learn in 90 seconds about that." Or that part, I understand. I already have that. I can skip over that. So they're very shareable. They're all here in a single playlist. So you can see the whole series. You can bounce around. You can come back to it. Easy to share one video, easy to share the whole thing. So, Jill, you've told us a little bit about the why and the purpose and how you came to this. And I love this idea of noticing that most of our appointments are around this. So that's where we're going to direct our energy. And then, Ryan, you kind of made it happen. So, Ryan, why don't you tell some of the tech folks who are thinking here on the execution side, what was important to you as you put these videos together? What did you learn through the process? What tips would you have for folks that you learned? Maybe a dozen videos that you've done?
Yeah, about that. So yeah. And I should say I'm Ryan. I'm a career coach here at Concordia. Been here for about 4.5 years. It is helpful that I had a little background in marketing, did that for about 20 years. That said, these videos do not require a marketing degree, just some practice. So our whole process, I mean, we started with an outline, thinking about, so we know all our details. We know what we teach students about resume, but can we keep it short? So things like, what do the students need to know? What do they typically struggle with? What should they learn first? And things like that. So we basically wrote this kind of on the heels of redoing our website. So we have the content pretty fresh. The beautiful thing about resume is that it does kind of break itself down into segments. So I think it lends itself well to, some of those 1 minute blips and things like that. But yeah, kind of sat down and built off of what we already had with the website, trying to translate that visually though, make it look good, things like that. Process wise, we've been using an audio software called Audacity, and it's a free open source software that's cross platform. It's very nice for recording audio, but for our purposes, we're recording like one slide at a time. Then if I'm talking and I screw up, I can go back, cut the little blips out, things like that. And they have a few little filters that found some resources on just to make us sound a little bit better, things like that. So then from there, we brought it into Canva, which is a fairly affordable design video software, things like that. It does a little bit of everything. Um, so with that, we built sort of a consistent template, colors, things like that, using the Concordia branding and whatnot. We basically built out each segment, kind of going off that script, keeping it concise, things like that. And then we moved to export that and brought it into YouTube. Kind of thought about playlists. So down the road, we may segment these into other playlists and things like that. Other things that we made sure that we did was to bring in our closed captioning, so that's available for people. And then just things like writing clear descriptions, adding some links to the video descriptions, cover photos, things along those lines.
Mhm. Yeah, great. And I think you described sort of having an outline. I might use the language of facilitation guide, like here's what we want to do,
Mhm.
here's what we want to make sure we miss, or we
Absolutely.
hit and don't miss. And I think pulling that together with a couple of smart folks who meet with students a lot, drafting that, and then sharing it with some students. How would this sit with you? What would make sense? Oh, we don't call it that, we call it this, can be really helpful. And then, as you mentioned, resumes kind of lends itself to, I think you called it chunks,
Mhm.
which fit really nicely in these micro learning, right? 34 seconds, 94 seconds. I have time for that. I can make time for that, right? Um, but not a lot longer. But then totally, you can come back to it. I can imagine down the road too, you might end up having some different playlists, right? A resume playlist, maybe a cover letter playlist, maybe an interviewing playlist, maybe a networking playlist with these different tips. And as the ones that I look through, it's really is none of you on camera. It's all of you with voiceover,
Mhm.
sort of narrating visual slides. Is that right?
Absolutely correct. And we roped in all of our full-time staff to help because I didn't want to hear myself do the whole thing. I would do.
Especially if you're the one doing all the editing. That's
And
the worst.
I didn't want to ask Jill to do every single one because I'm guessing that would be a no too. So instead, spread out the burden, but also, give a diversity of voices too.
Yeah,
And then afterward, we can compare notes and see who we thought was the best. But
that's great. That's great. Um, Ryan, what did you learn? What do you wish you would have known at the beginning of this process, particularly as the person behind kind of the editing and the filtering and the audio and the video and the Canva and all of that? Anything you wish you would have known at the start of the
yeah,
process?
Well, I think the more pre-work you can do, the more pre-planning that you can do, even drawing out some ideas, even if it's rough sketches, the more that you do and the more that you have your team look at things, it'll make it easier when we're recording these things. So we definitely did some changing of the script as we went along, which is okay. But I think just putting the time, being diligent, that'll make a big difference.
Yeah, it sounds quite fun.
It
Uh,
was.
Jill, what have you learned through this process? Like you said, it's you're kind of launching these and getting them out there and just beginning to do some of the assessment, which is the thing we got a chance to talk about recently. But what are some of the early lessons, early observations that you're getting from students who maybe you're hearing about already? Um, yeah, what are you learning?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just excited to be able to scale our work in a really meaningful way. It's been a goal of mine since, especially since taking on the director role, is understanding that we only have the capacity to serve so many students in one-on-one appointments, and that's not all of them. And all of our students deserve to have the same information and easy access to it. So the more that we can provide these kinds of things, the more excited I get about the work that we do and the value that we provide across our campus and to students.
Great. Well, any final thoughts from either one of you? Ryan, anything else that we want to make sure we don't miss?
Yeah, I would just encourage people to give it a try because it is there's a learning curve, but you can do these things and tools like Canva, like Audacity make it I won't say easy, but a lot easier to approach
Yeah.
these things.
Yeah.
So give it a try.
Well, they look terrific. I mean, they really look top notch, very professionally done. So kudos to you. Jill, anything that you would want to add?
Yeah, I mean, I just give it a try, like, launch at 40%, as I think I learned in our meeting with you, is
Yeah.
that don't wait for perfection, just do it. And you can always make corrections as you go. I mean, like with these bite-sized videos at 30 seconds, you're not trying to edit a 60-minute presentation. So bite-sized is good for students because they'll actually connect with it,
Mhm.
and it's easy for you to create, develop, and change as you go along.
Yeah. Wonderful. Well, thank you both. The thing that I might add is be thoughtful about where you want professional staff voices. And I think the way you've done this here is great because you want credibility. This is how to do a resume. You want that kind of credibility and authority. There might be other places where you want student voices and student images and having three or four students talking through and on screen. And so just be thoughtful. Where do we want kind of the gravitas and the credibility and the authority of faculty or staff? And when do we want the relatability? They're just like me, they get it. From maybe some upper level students who other students feel like they've been there and done that. I remember, when I was a sophomore, I thought seniors had all of life completely figured out. And so where do we kind of connect that? And so I love what you've done with these videos. It's a great model, and I think it takes a great idea that I think many of us have and is like, oh, it could be as simple as that. And that's just terrific. So kudos to you both. Thanks for joining us and thanks for sharing your videos with us.
Thank
All
you.
right, thank you.